Hi everyone, thanks again for checking out my video. This is part 2 of my expose of the fraud that's been committed by the DWP. In this video I'm going to talk about sanctions and recoverable hardship payments. Now this part of it is pretty dark as well. I mean, I wouldn't say it's quite as bad as the RTI's earnings disputes when people are getting wages reported they've not actually received, because at least then with a sanction they've actually done, or for the most part they've done something wrong to get sanctioned. That might be missing an appointment, not doing your job searches correctly, or whatever it is. Unfortunately, there's, as I mentioned in the last video, there's a lot of vile personalities that are doing this job, work coaches that lack compassion and empathy, that are sanctioning people for no other reason than it obviously makes them feel good. I mean, I don't know what the DWP's processes themselves are. I can only go with what my companies were on behalf of them. Theirs internally are obviously slightly different. I didn't actually interview for the DWP. I interviewed for a call centre which handles the calls of the DWP, so there obviously is a difference in that. I mean, I would be happy to speak to any case managers that are probably feeling the same as me, that there's some inhumane practices going on. So if there is any, you can obviously leave a comment in the comment section. Anyway, these sanctions, again, if you agree to tender an appointment, and the policy is supposed to be that if you can't attend, you're supposed to let your work coach know. Unfortunately, as explained in the last video, there's a lot of times where someone will leave a journal message to say that they've got a family emergency or they're not well or something, and it doesn't get read probably for at least 4 or 5 days, at which point the appointments came and gone. And they've already been sanctioned. Now, this is where we come into it. They will then phone the helpline to ask what's going on, and we need to explain. We need to obviously follow the processes. We need to fill out what's known as a PAC form. I was wrestling with that every day with people not doing it because it's so monotonous, and it does get soul destroying when you're filling it out constantly. However, it is the only way we have to contact the job centres on behalf of claimants. So it is the only sheet that you can fill out to do that. You're not supposed to contact case managers and work coaches through any other means. Sometimes you can, or I did at times, but for the most part it's through this form. Whether that's a change your phone number, change your bank details to get it verified, it doesn't matter. Everything goes through that sheet. But what was happening was people were phoning up and they were saying, oh, it's okay, I'll send a message to your work coach or whatever and you'll get an appointment. They'll wait 3 days and they've had no appointment, at which point they call back. You then look into it, and you can. There's telltale signs if the agent sent the form or not. I told their superiors. I mean, every time I seen someone not doing their job, I would take their name and send it to their superior. So if you're wondering how you ever got caught for not doing your PAC forms, it was me. I'll just let you know that. Because people it's already set up to fail. So if people are not doing their job right, then what happens is, like for example, if you change your phone number, you need to then call up to book an appointment to verify that phone number. Until you've been into the appointment and the work coach has verified the phone number, then you're not going to get into your account and you can't manage your way through it because you can't log in, because it's obviously for security purposes. And I was always very mindful of that. Excuse me. However, there's some agents out there that just didn't care. Some of them came from overseas, and I do appreciate that some of them would have been, they would have had a language barrier and they probably thought they were doing the right thing, or they maybe couldn't understand or something along the lines of that. Yes, there would have been some of those. Unfortunately, for the most part, agents who knew exactly what the process was not following it, telling people to leave journal messages to request appointments, or I'll leave your new phone number in here, which does absolutely no good whatsoever. And it was causing sanctions. So you're complicit in that. Yes, there is bad work coaches out there, but if you don't do your job correctly as an agent, then there doesn't need to be any bad work coaches, because all they're going to sanction them anyway, because they're not aware as to why they've missed the appointment. Then you've got the next set of sanctions, which is, or the next kind of sanction rather, which is the type that where they're just sanctioning you for no good reason. One of the best examples I had of this, and this happens constantly, was there was a kid, I can't remember where he was from, you never do, but he was from somewhere in the north of England, and he'd been in an appointment, everything was okay, spoke to his work coach, yes, everything's fine. And then by the time he'd gotten home, he'd checked his account, he had a notification to check his account to tell him to log in, at which point he'd realised he'd been sanctioned. So he obviously phones up, he gets through to me, and I look, and I was pretty annoyed about it, because I was so annoyed with this work coach. I thought, well, if you're going to sanction someone, you need to look them in the eye and sanction them and tell them why they're being sanctioned. You don't say everything's okay and then sanction them and let them find out when they get home. I mean, if you're that much of a coward, you shouldn't be sanctioning people. You shouldn't be sanctioning people anyway, unless they've done something wrong. But I mean, I can't even remember what the reason was why he'd said that they'd sanctioned. It wasn't good enough anyway, but this is constantly happening. Now, if they call us up to, if they call the helpline and they get through to someone who also doesn't care, the mental health problems that must cause, I mean, well, I know it causes, it sends it through the roof, because you think, well, I need to phone this line to get some help. And then they get through to someone who cares even less, then that only increases the stress and the worry, the disease, and thus the disease and the illness. So it's not good until they get through to someone like myself. And there is a lot of decent agents. I was actually in the top team, and there was a lot of agents in that team that tried their best for everyone, just as I did. Unfortunately, a lot of the teams, they would follow process, which meant when you're following process and not following your heart, then you are going to be complicit in installing poverty on the British public. That is a fact. That much has been shown to me. I've seen it and heard it with my own ears. And see, this is why you've got to do what's right no matter what, because if you just continually follow process, then and the processes are inhumane anyway, then it just leads to people not getting what they need. And I actually said to a manager, I hope he hears this, because I wanted to say this to him at the time, I couldn't, well, basically what he said, we were in a meeting, it wasn't long after I got the disciplinary that I mentioned, and they were talking about sanctions, and he got up and he basically said that there was a national debt that needed to be taken care of, and that people needed to be sanctioned, and I just because he's lucky, because if I hadn't just gotten that disciplinary, I would definitely have schooled him on what he just said. I'll do that here now. You can sanction every single universal credit claimant from here until infinity, and it will make not a blind bit of difference to the national debt. And it's very simple. The national debt will never be covered because everything runs on debt. So when you borrow money from a bank, all they create is the principal, whether that's £5,000 or £10,000. But you don't just pay 5 or 10 back. You pay interest back. But because they're only creating the principal, the interest's not created. So that means there's never enough money in circulation to pay the debt off. So the next time someone tells you that they need to sanction people to cover the debt, then you can tell them and you can call time on their bullshit, because that's what it is. And I hope the guy that said that hears this, because the ignorance of his statement absolutely took the breath away. I couldn't believe it. And I was so angry when he said it, because I thought, well, it's no need to see how you're getting your head down at night anyway. That's obviously what you're telling yourself, which is wrong. It's just incorrect. And this is the point. I mean, this is taxpayer money. This is a taxpayer funded operation here. It's there for people who are paying who are working, regardless if it's only 10 hours a week or 4, it doesn't matter. You're contributing to this system. But here's the problem. We employ politicians to manage these funds, but somewhere along the lines, the people the politicians have put in charge to manage these funds have somehow gotten the idea that the money's theirs, and it's not. It's the taxpayer. I mean, who are they to sanction taxpayer money? Who are they honestly to say, you're not getting your money this week? And I'll say it again, fair enough. If they've missed an appointment and they keep doing it, years ago it used to take a lot to get sanctioned. I mean, it used to take really a lot. Now it doesn't take anything. I mean, you would need to go in there and not have looked for your jobs and multiple times before they would turn around and say that we need to sanction it because you're not doing what you're told to do or what you're being asked to do or what you've agreed to do in your commitments. And that's but now it's just like, oh, they're sanctioning without even telling them, and it's just, I don't know how some of these people are just genuinely, they've obviously got some serious trauma in their life, they've got some serious healing to do if they think what they're doing is okay and they can go home at night to their own families. I mean, because some of the personalities that they have got in there, I mean, I genuinely don't know how they've got their jobs. I just don't know how they've managed to say at an interview that I'm compassionate and empathetic and I'll help people. Because I mean, they can't be. They're not looking for that kind of person. That's why I didn't get on and say, well, I was the opposite to what they needed, and I said that to my manager. Says, what I am, I'm not good to use, because I'll do what's right no matter what, and you don't. You need people to do what they're told. There's a big difference in that, and that it was just no good. But because I was good at it, they kept me there, and I did enjoy it. I liked helping people, and I'm glad that to anyone that I did help, it was a pleasure. And this is obviously the next stage of that, because without getting the truth out there, then people don't know what's going on. And honestly, and I can't rely on anybody from my previous employers that will do this. I'm not being derogatory towards anyone, or to the good ones anyway. To the cowards I am, because you'll never do it, and you know who you are. But I said in the last video, we're going to have to start putting our differences aside, because while we're fighting with each other and arguing, and people are out there saying, oh, good enough for them getting sanctioned, you need a job anyway, I'm working, I'm paying your rent, and which is true up to a point. But do you really, I mean, I used to say this to people all the time, do you really want to see kids going hungry? Do you really want to see people being pushed into hardship whilst a £17 billion jet is being constructed? Or while your military budget is 78 billion per year, 78 billion, and then you look at what they're giving to Ukraine, and I checked this just the other day, we have given them 12 billion since that conflict kicked off, and it's 12, so we're giving countries who are apparently war-torn, £12 billion, while people get sanctioned for no reason, no good reason at all. I mean, one case manager actually sanctioned his claimant because they didn't report, their employers didn't report their bloody wages quick enough. And she phoned me up, she said, I've got no control over that. I said, I know, and I had to put a mandatory reconsideration in for an appeal. And he would have got his knuckles chapped, or I would have liked to thought he would have, to say, look, you can't sanction people for that, that's not on her. But these people are getting away with this. They're actually getting away with it. They're sanctioning people for not reporting wages in a timely manner that's through no fault of their own, but at the same time giving a country 12 billion in aid while their own people are going hungry. And they are going hungry. As I said in the last video, there's people living in tents. And again, I know that for a fact. I know it for a fact because I've spoken to them. And people say, my auntie said this to me once, how do you know they're telling the truth? When you're taking 70 calls a day, 350 a week, then you get an ear for people who are telling the truth or not. It's very, very simple. If someone says they've got no food and they're hungry, and you offer them a charity number that will give them food, and they say no, it's okay, you know they're trying to mislead you. If they take that number, you know they're being truthful. It's very simple. And this is where we're at. I mean, as I said in the last video, there's no crisis loans available. I mean, it's just so dark, it's unbelievable. We can only give them a charity, and these charities must be bursting at the seams. They really must be bursting at the seams, and obviously because of the people that are coming into the country. And I'm going to do that as a third video. Work capability assessments and limited capability for working asylum seekers. I'm going to go into all that because there's serious problems with that as well. But we'll stick to the contents of this just now. So we're sanctioning our people and for no reason, and giving other countries all their money. So I do have to wonder when these sanctions and these benefit recoveries are the false ones, the wrong earnings that are getting reported, the deductions, the carers element, all this money to all these claimants that's been taken for all these claimants, where is that going? Where's it going? I would really like to know where that's going, and I would love to know who to ask first and foremost. It's quite peculiar that you don't exactly know who to ask about that. Again, this is another reason for